ടോക്ക് ഓണിൽ പ്രശസ്ത സാമ്പത്തിക വിദഗ്ധൻ പരകാല പ്രഭാകറുമായുള്ള അഭിമുഖം കേൾക്കാം. അവതരണം ഡോക്ടർ ബിജു മാത്യു, ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ഓഫ് ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ് സ്റ്റഡീസ്, കാലിക്കറ്റ് സർവകലാശാല.
Calicut University is very proud to have Dr. Parakala Prabhakar, political commentator and activist and author. He is with us today to discuss about the Indian economy, especially the go forward for the Indian economy and society after the 2024 general elections to the Parliament of India. Sir, thank you for being with us here and with the CU radio, the Calicut University radio. I am sure that the students of the university and all the other listeners from the university would be very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Biju. Thank you very much. I am very pleased to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your presence. So let us begin with just completed elections and then the formation of the new government. You have written extensively on the Indian economy, spoken to lots of audiences on the Indian economy and its future. What deviation would you see in the Indian economy and the policies of the government, the reform measures in their agenda from the election turnout and the election results? What changes do you anticipate, sir?
Dr. Biju, we need to understand the verdict of the 2024 elections. What message did the voters send? That is one part of it. The other part of it is, what message did the ruling dispensation get out of the 2024 verdict? What did they read? What did we read? And then what did the people actually say? If you ask me, what is the embedded message in the 2024 verdict? I would say the following. One, the people of India have said that, look, no more of this temple mosque thing, no more of this Mangal Sutra, Mams, Machli, this kind of hate and all that. Come back. Don't go too far on that. It's okay. We are also, devotees of Ram, not you, not only you. That's not your monopoly. Come back and look at our joblessness, the price rise, the rural distress, the sufferings of the common person, and look at the inequality, look at the farmers and their impoverishment. So the message is very clear, that no more of this hate at the societal level. At the level of the economy, they told very clearly in no uncertain terms that you have to look at the price rise and the plight of the poor, unemployment, young people, women, rural. These are the things. Now, if the government gets it, they will mend their ways. Because, last 10 years, in spite of or notwithstanding whatever they have been saying, forget about their pronouncements, but their policy has been, throw about 5 kilos of food grains to the poor people and give 5 airports to their cronies. That has been the philosophy. I think if the 2024 verdict is correctly understood by the ruling dispensation, they will put a stop to that kind of an economic philosophy and come back to their senses and look at the rural distress and unemployment.
Super.
So I'm hoping against hope,
Okay.
that the government actually reads what is the message embedded, or what is the lesson that the electorate had taught the government. Now, you see, but the last 10 days or so after the election results are announced, the ruling dispensation is trying to pretend that, they got an endorsement, they are Modi 3.0 kind of a thing. I think that is a very immature way of looking at it. It's a very insecure way of looking at it. A confident leader a leader who is a mature person would admit vulnerabilities, would admit limitations, and then move accordingly. But this leadership is somehow wants to be blind to the lesson that was taught. In fact, if you ask me, this election verdict is a slap on the face of the Prime Minister as well as the ruling party. If they don't realize it, and if they go on doing what they have been doing for the last 10 years, I think we are going to head towards a much more catastrophic situation, both in terms of economy as well as in terms of the social fabric.
Thank you very much, sir. So, what I understand from your kind words is probably that it is difficult for the ruling dispensation to clearly grasp from the heart what the voters have demanded, in fact. And you are quite pessimistic about the kind of changes that is expected of them. That's precisely what you say from the last 10 days of responses from the governmental machinery. Let us hope, sir, that they will respond to the electorates, the voters' clear message they have given and amend the policies. Now, when it comes to the priorities of any government, that you say that inequality and joblessness, price rise, they are all problems and issues that have to be addressed immediately. Now, do you expect the stronger opposition this time to play a better and constructive role towards governance and the future of the Indian economy and the society?
Dr. Biju, I look at the whole thing in a different way altogether. Because now the elections are over, the Lok Sabha is constituted. Now you see the drama between ruling party and the opposition party, or ruling alliance and opposition alliance. That's what you see. But you need to put that in context. You need to see that before the House is constituted, the fight was not between one political party and the other political party, between one alliance and the other alliance, between one leader and another leader. It was a fight between the Modi regime, the NDA, and the Modi-led BJP on the one side,
Okay, sir.
and the people of India on the other side. Now, the people have spoken, and in some way that is reflected in the way the House is constituted, which means that they have denied the ruling party, the BJP and Mr. Modi, the ability to form the government on their own. They had to depend on other people.
Correct.
And that is a huge lesson.
Okay.
And one thing is for the ruling dispensation to understand that verdict, as we spoke about it a little while ago. The other one is for the opposition alliance to understand where do they stand,
Okay.
why are they there, why are they there in that kind of a number which they were not earlier. So which means if they really carry out the instructions of the people or instructions that are embedded in the message, in the verdict, then they will have to play a very, very vigilant role, very active role, a role of a watchdog, a role of a questioner, role of somebody who makes the government day in and day out accountable.
Okay.
And I wish, and I have a little hope, because you see, the ruling party may not heed to the verdict, because they are now in government. They think everything is what it was for the last 10 years, although it is not. But the opposition alliance probably will realize, because the multiple voices. Now you see, the ruling party earlier used to keep the bullseye on the back of just one person, Rahul Gandhi, and try to shoot. But today, because of the alliance, you have multiple voices from different parts of the country who are going to be very, very vocal. So their attention has to be spread across the spectrum.
Correct.
So I feel that the opposition alliance is going to play a very active part.
Okay.
And the demand from the civil society is going to be much more. And the civil society during the run-up to the elections was very active. And my feeling is, because I'm also in touch with many groups that are working,
Okay.
are still active and they'll continue to be active. And that kind of a demand on both the government as well as the opposition is going to be huge.
Okay. You mentioned about the role of the civil society. Before I come to that, one quick question on the opportunities and the possibility for the opposition bloc. Now, you are mentioning that there are different parties, different leaders instead of the earlier one leader against the whole governmental setup. You have several leaders. How do you see the cohesion and the unity among the opposition when we consider the NDA versus the India bloc? Probably I would say that the NDA is more coherent, more strong, powerful than the India bloc, which was set up only, the previous night of the elections. So do you see that the opposition unity will grow stronger?
I have a different view of this.
Okay, sir.
You are saying that NDA is very coherent.
Yes.
It looks coherent because
Correct.
it's in power.
Okay.
But look at the character of NDA. Not a single party, although it's a huge alliance. I think it's about 29 parties. And very oddly, there are 7 parties or 6 parties from Tamil Nadu itself, which did not win even a single seat. But still, there's a number. But Dr. Biju, if you notice closely, not a single political party is an ideological ally of the BJP.
Correct.
None of it.
Yes.
None of them is.
Correct.
So they're all there because BJP is in power. And some of them are there because BJP is in power and vulnerable. You can bargain unlike before.
Okay.
And most of them are there not because they agree to the kind of project, the kind of philosophy or the kind of politics that Mr. Modi and the BJP under him do. Not that. They are there contextually. They are there for quid pro quo. In a way, an opportunistic alliance.
Yes. And convenience.
So, it's a convenience, contextual, give and take,
Correct.
realpolitik.
Correct.
So therefore, I do not consider the NDA a very strong alliance. On the contrary, in response to that, it is the civil society which rose against that regime. And, in the fight between the civil society and the Modi regime, the beneficiaries happen to be the India Alliance.
Okay.
It is not as a result of the India Alliance efforts that you see these results.
Okay.
India Alliance is merely a beneficiary of the efforts of the general civil society.
I understand.
Okay. Now, in that case, the opposition to the government is not merely in the house.
Okay.
A large part of it is in the civil society outside the house.
Okay.
Which means that the large amount of opposition that is there in the civil society will keep the India bloc necessarily cohesive and in a fighting spirit.
Okay.
They cannot escape that.
Great.
That is my feeling.
So you would expect, the India bloc to play a more constructive role towards the future of India.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you see, the civil society is going to bombard the India Alliance partners with petitions saying that you raise this issue, you raise that issue, you object to this issue, you don't vote for that, you don't vote for this, kind of a thing.
Correct.
And, at the same time, the civil society is also going to tell the government, don't go ahead with this, don't go ahead with that,
Okay.
that kind of a thing. Which means that the India bloc is going to be under tremendous pressure to stand up for not their parties, respective parties, but in order to stand up for the civil society's demands.
Okay.
Which means that the opposition is not going to be a supplier of opposition to the people.
Okay.
They are going to be executors of the demand from the civil society.
Got it, sir. Thank you very much for that different view, put it explicitly, sir. Now, coming to the civil society and the social media platforms, when the the mainstream media, both visual as well as others, printed media, in fact, my view is that during the last few years they have been failing to communicate what's going on in the country to the people of the country. Now, in that situation, in that grave kind of a situation, I believe it is the civil society and the alternative social media which came up and passed a very clear message to the voters, to the people. So, can you comment on how the civil society could influence our Indian polity and voting so largely during these elections?
Oh yes, I think the civil society, as I said, I give the entire credit to what happened. When India was attempted to be taken away from its republican values of tolerance, democracy, diversity, liberalism, secularism, federalism, when this ruling dispensation has attempted to take India away from these towards a theocratic Hindu Rashtra kind of a thing, the civil society is the one which stopped this regime in its tracks. It just held this regime by the scruff of its collar and forcefully dragged it back and put it now where it is. Okay. Now, in this, the mainstream media, the so-called mainstream media, just because they have their studios in Delhi and printing presses in Delhi or in Mumbai or such metros, they behaved as though they are a part of the I&B ministry.
Yes.
There is a division called DAVP.
Okay.
Directorate of Division of Audiovisual Publicity kind of a thing under the I&B Ministry.
Okay.
Most of the mainstream media, television, with a few honorable exceptions, most of the television media, most of the print media have become part of DAVP kind of a thing. Now, and these days, with the kind of technology that is available, civil society used social media so effectively. So many people have come on to platforms like YouTube, X, Twitter, and Facebook, and other things, and they have conveyed their message so clearly, and it reached people so clearly. For instance, somebody like this platform.
Yes, the CU, Calicut University
platform. This has reached, and this is reaching now.
Okay.
Unless tomorrow the union government clamps down on these also, we cannot say. But till then, there are avenues available, and these have played, I'm telling you, such an influential role in reaching out this message. Where when I speak to people, they tell me people have gone to very small villages and spoken to poor people. Those people have said the constitution is under threat. And those people who have gone there, they were shocked because, you see, they did not expect the poor people to think that the constitution is under threat. They thought constitution means, it's a concern for the rich people, educated people, middle class, upper middle class kind of a thing. No. This election, and that came about only because of the civil society and the role of the social media, which is available to them. These are the platforms. Because here, there are no gatekeepers.
Correct. In fact, that is the benefit of the fourth industrial revolution for our people, right?
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's always good that cheap media is reaching homes, so it's more affordable. It's more affordable. And I'm very thrilled to hear the failure of the theocratic approach, wherein even in the Ayodhya, the constituency where Ayodhya, they are failing. I mean, the BJP and such.
They lost the election.
They lost the election, that's it, yeah. So, what do you tell the students about the future for them in India in terms of employment, in terms of opportunities? Most of the listeners of this radio station are students of the Calicut University. So what message do you have for them?
You see, if you look at the present political dispensation, which has weakened, but it's still alive and kicking. So try to understand that this political dispensation has an economic philosophy and a social philosophy and a political philosophy which are inimical to the Indian ethos and our republican values. Okay. First, this has to be dislodged.
Okay.
Only then you will have opportunities for jobs, opportunities for education, opportunities for decent living, opportunities for harmony, opportunities for growth, opportunities for fraternity. Everything is possible once this whole ideology is dislodged. Now, here is the challenge. This ideology has been there for a long time. The ideology which says that India belongs to one religion, India belongs to some people, India belongs to only, other people can live here, but they have to live under the hegemony of the Hindus, under the hegemony of the majority religion, under the hegemony of rich people. And, once they're good people, they will also share some of the spoils and you can also have some jobs. The trickle-down kind of a theory. Now, the challenge is that this ideology has been there for a long time. It is still there. It will be there. I'm not foreseeing a situation where this ideology is completely rooted out and they become zero. No.
Okay.
They'll be alive in some form or the other, in some size or the other.
Okay.
But the challenge is to keep that to a minimum size.
Okay.
They should be overwhelmed by the counter narrative.
Correct.
And understand that this particular majoritarian narrative has a huge, dedicated, motivated, hard-working army of people who are working day in and day out, not immediately expecting any rewards or recognition or results or photo opportunities. They're working. So my question is this to the young people. When a majoritarian ideology, an unequal ideology, an ideology that keeps one section of the society privileged, the other section of the society disempowered, if that has an army working, which means an army of people working against the values of our constitution, my question to the young people is, please ask yourselves, is there an army to defend the values of the Constitution? I see no army. I see no organized effort. So the challenge in front of the young people of this country is to make an organized attempt to defend the core values of our republic, the core values of our constitution.
Okay.
This is the challenge, and only then job opportunities, employment opportunities, self-employment or educational opportunities, opportunity for a decent livelihood, fraternity, mutual respect, tolerance.
And to prevent, instances like the Manipur incident. Yeah, it could happen anywhere.
You see, look at what is happening in Manipur, what has been happening in Manipur. It is happening there. It's happening for the last more than 1 year. The government has absolutely spoken nothing. Even after re-election, the so-called re-election, the Prime Minister has not uttered a word. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha wants a resolution passed on emergency which was 50 years ago.
Yes.
And he has no concern about what's happening now in Manipur, right now, today, at this hour. He is not bothered, no resolution about that.
Yes. The property immediate to the Chief Minister was burnt, or was it a minister's? It happens, yeah, and it continues. We speak of the empowered and the disempowered. You spoke in terms of probably the empowerment of the majority versus the disempowerment of the non-majority and the people who are in the other side. And then we could also think in terms of economically empowered as well as dispowered. I would see that, and in fact, in your first discourse on one of my questions, you mentioned that about the crony capitalism, the 5 airports that have been offered, which satisfies everybody, that kind of a development. I would like to take your attention to what's going on in the real growth. I see that there is a lack of benefits of growth. You use the word trickling down. In the kind of strategy which we have, it is not really trickling down. All the issues, problems, challenges faced by the people are more than the benefits that they get. So how would you see during this next 5 years of this government's rule? Would there be any change in strategy in that regard? Reduce the inequality. You yourself mentioned about inequality and the other problems. Create employment. Would there be a very, very specific targeted attack on these issues by the government, especially the fact that they are a coalition government depending on a set of other political parties, new friends basically? What would be your take on that, sir?
Dr. Biju, if the government heeds to the message that is embedded in the 2024 verdict, definitely the direction would change.
Okay.
But I do not see the kind of signals that the government has, the ruling dispensation has understood the message that is embedded in the 2024 verdict.
Okay.
They think all is well, they've been endorsed. They're at least pretending that way.
Yes. They're forced.
As I say, it's a very immature way of it. It's like children, even after falling down, they would get up and say nothing has happened.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
But a mature person would say, look, something has happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong in admitting to limitations and vulnerabilities. Having said that, the hardships in the day-to-day lives of people, the lived experience of people, if not today, tomorrow, that will force the government to change their tack.
Okay.
This large-scale unemployment, large-scale rural distress, and somebody is spending 1,000 crores for a pre-wedding event. These cannot coexist any longer. It is obscene. It definitely makes a lot of people uncomfortable. So, these messages will willy-nilly reach the government. Government will have to heed to this. And the point is, can you really sustain this kind of an economic model forget long term, even in the medium term? Can you do that? Because you see, when you have so much of unemployment, which means people have no incomes, no livelihoods, which means that their spending power is very less, or no spending power. If no spending power, and you boast about 7.2% economic growth, then where is it coming from? And if at all, that's a very contested figure. You're a student of economics,
yes,
Dr. Biju. If the national consumption is about 3%,
correct,
how can it be? I can understand if there is a deviation of 0.5% to 1%. That's the internationally accepted kind of a deviation.
Correct.
But which means that the GDP growth could have been maximum 4.5% if 3% is the consumption. If you say that is 7.2%. Where is that coming from? Correct. Unless it is inflated. That is contested. But even if, say for argument's sake, that it is not inflated, that it is real, which means that it is some type of a K-shaped kind of a growth.
Okay.
Where a large section is going down and a small section is going up. Okay. If that is the case, then how long can you really sustain? Can you have an island of prosperity in the midst of an ocean of poverty?
Correct. Yes, sir. You said it rightly, and you're talking about the data on GDP 8.2. think of a situation where most of the time series data are broken.
Yeah.
We don't have the census happening. And I would like you to answer also to the community on the delay in the census, the delimitation exercises that are being planned, and how it's going to impact the polity as well as the economy, in your opinion. The census is delayed, and we don't know when it is going to happen. And my fear, you come from Telangana, and we live in Kerala. It's all about South India. And one of the fears that is raised in the literature is that once the census is done, the new delimitation exercise is completed, the role and the prominence of these southern states would decline. There is a fear about it. Can you talk to the community about that as well?
Well, I think we must all be very acutely aware of and conscious of this kind of danger that is probably impending.
Okay.
You see, Dr. Biju, even today in the Lok Sabha, South India doesn't really matter much. Mm-hmm. Let's admit that. I mean, you're talking about, what will happen if there is a
26.
delimitation.
Yeah. Okay.
That's going to be much, much worse.
Okay.
But today, look at, you have about how many seats of the entire South India put together? 139 or 140. And whatever is the verdict of this entire South India can be completely nullified by 2 or 3 states in the northern India. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh can just knock off the entire South Indian states verdict.
Okay.
So, which means that South India as it stands today already stands disempowered.
Okay.
It becomes empowered only if there's a huge stratification in the political opinion of the northern Indian states. In the absence of that, South Indian political opinion doesn't really count. Mm-hmm. That is why, even if all the 5 South Indian states go against the BJP, still they can retain power.
Mm. Yeah, so that's the majority, that's it.
Isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So it is
even as per today's...
as per today.
As per today.
Now, as you fear, because there is a better population control here, because of better education here, better nutrition, better primary health care facilities, mortalities is, child mortality is controlled, maternal mortality is controlled, health indices and per capita income. When incomes grow, the number of children in a family also reduce. These are the trends, better literacy and all that. Whereas in many North Indian states, it's the other way around, where the population has been growing. That is the reason why the weightage that is given to the population is controlled as per for devolution of funds and for delimitation, determining the number of seats, etc. But then, if that particular clause is taken out and new delimitation is brought in, then the northern Indian states, especially 3 or 4 states, are going to have overwhelming numerical advantage over the rest of India, especially the South India.
Okay.
Now, it will be even further marginalized. Southern Indian states will be even further marginalized. That is political.
Correct.
The second thing is that, look at the devolution of funds.
Yes.
When it comes to devolution of funds, the federal spirit is now in tatters. Take, for example, the example of Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, even Tamil Nadu.
Yes, precarious.
Very precarious.
Very precarious, yes.
And for every rupee collected, there are people who have computed this. Some states are getting 7 rupees or 6 rupees, or some states are getting 30 paisa, 25 paisa.
Correct.
And then the government comes up to say that we can't do anything because there's a finance commission.
Correct.
But finance commission, according to finance commission, finance commission can only dictate the union government to distribute or devolve funds according to a formula, and that applies to only the consolidated fund of India.
Okay.
That is a fund which can be shared.
Yes.
Now there are finances which need not be shared,
Okay.
and they come from cesses and surcharges.
Yes.
Now, if you collect more funds, and this government is doing that
Correct.
through cesses and surcharges, you're not accountable to, you don't fall under, that doesn't fall under the devolution of the Finance Commission recommendations. So these funds are utilized to punish or reward what they call the double engine sarkar.
Correct.
In that the South Indian states fall into a different category, which are not treated properly by the union government this particular dispensation. So both financially as well as politically, the South Indian states as on today are suffering, and if these kind of things go on, and on top of it if the devolution comes as projected, then I think South Indian states will have a very, very tough time ahead.
Correct.
And our federal spirit will be very
impacted.
strained.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And let us conclude the discussion. And you are mainly talking to the students of the university. One last message for the youth, the students of the university, sir.
I want the young people, the student community, to be politically alive.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that you join a political party. It need not be.
Okay.
See, being politically conscious, being politically active need not be equated with being in a part of a political party, one party or the other. But one has to be alive, active in the social sphere with fully being politically conscious and spreading the political message. And the message, of course, is the message of the Constitution.
Okay.
Message of diversity, of plurality, of democracy, of secularism, of tolerance. These are the core values of our society. And we are a society and a state which is based on citizenship.
Okay.
And that citizenship is not predicated on your caste or your community, your religion, your language, your region, or where you reside. The citizenship is you are a native of this
country.
And another point is that all of us should understand, be conscious that this country belongs to everyone. Nobody has more right over this country than anybody else. There are no two categories of citizens in this country.
Right.
If our young people, it's they, because we are going to be around only for a few more years, but the entire thing has to be taken forward by the younger people who are now in the universities, who are now in the classrooms. So if they are conscious that this country belongs to everybody, I think this republic will be safe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. And I'm sure that this last message that you have put forward to the students will reach in the right ears of the students and the hearts of the students, and that they will remain socially and politically active forever and contribute to a great republic which would regain its prominence in the world. Thank you, sir, once again.
Thank you, Dr. Biju.
Thank you.